Hey there. Okay, here we go. This is the third tip, right? So a video a day, tip a day. We're on these top three for perimenopause and menopause and how to deal with the changing body and what kind of ways our body we need to support our bodies to achieve the weight loss and body composition and just general health goals of feeling better, right? Feeling better, looking better. That's the goal here. And being able to sustain our levels of fitness, maybe even improve our levels of fitness and age actively, strong, healthy, happy, all of the above, right? So we're taking a deeper dive into some of the top tips, I suppose, strategies that I recommend for if you're going through that perimenopause, menopause kind of season of life and you notice that your body is different, right? It's changing, it doesn't respond the way it used to. So that's why we're talking about these things. And this third one, you may not like it very much. You might raise an eyebrow, wrinkle your nose. You may not, I don't know, just don't shoot the messenger, okay? Because this one is actually very effective and that's why it's being included. Habit number 3, this little shift is actually no caffeine in the first 90 minutes to 2 hours of your day. And better yet, probably none at all. I know if you are a coffee lover, and believe me, here, coffee is like part of the culture. This is a little bit of a challenge, but this habit it really involves delaying your morning coffee or your caffeine fix. This does include pre-workout. So those of you who do maybe an early morning workout and are trying to chug down some pre-workout to get you going in the morning, that also counts. So that is caffeine. That's still kind of on that line of coffee, but I want you to delay it for at least 90 minutes after waking up. If you're willing to take it a step further, you could consider cutting it out completely. If you are struggling with some things, I do recommend that for some people. But if even just to start, right? First step, first 90 minutes, be caffeine free. And I know it sounds daunting, but this really is one of my most common suggestions for clients that are going through this process. And here's why. Your body has a natural process for waking up and creating energy, and it's called the cortisol awakening response. Very high tech, right? We know cortisol, you've seen probably commercials or social media or something. We call it the stress hormone, but it's actually more than that. Cortisol is also your readiness, alertness, and wake up hormone. So, when we talk about your body going through these little circadian rhythms, not only in life, right, and years and decades, but also on a day-to-day basis, your body is going through these rhythms. They're called biorhythms. And naturally, your cortisol levels are meant to peak in the morning, which is to help you start your day with energy. And then once you've started your day, it begins a gradual decline throughout the day and should hit its low right around the evening when you are starting to get ready to allow for good sleep. Okay. Now, interesting point, and this is why I'm bringing it up as this habit or tip number 3. The first hormone regression that we see at this stage of life is when we've lived up to 40, 45, 50 years in high stress response states, is that this flips. Okay. And this becomes a health issue, and it becomes harder and harder to wake up in the morning. If you were to test your hormones and your cortisol awakening response, you would probably see, for a lot of us, that your morning cortisol is actually super low and your evening cortisol might be higher or even at the highest point, which is completely opposite what it needs to be, right? So you can imagine this would lead to, you guessed it, low morning energy and a hard time falling asleep at night. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. If it is you, and I know I have been there too, this was a big, big part of my own personal health challenges, is that mine had completely flipped and then tanked that cortisol. So if you are in that window where you suspect that because you have low morning energy and a hard time falling asleep at night, and it's been that way for a while, or kind of creeping up into that pattern for a while, you may want to consider moving towards zero caffeine intake, at least for a little while. Okay? Now, when you introduce caffeine right after you wake up, it's actually interfering with this natural cortisol boost process, which is what's leading us to dependence on caffeine for energy rather than your body's built in, innate mechanisms for waking up and providing energy. All right. In short, your coffee, my coffee, that morning coffee, first thing in the morning, it's a band aid. Okay. Here's what you stand to gain. If you can make this shift, if you can just delay your caffeine intake, that coffee, for the first 90 minutes to 2 hours, that's the sweet spot, what we're seeing with the cortisol rise, kind of allowing your body to get back into its own balance, to begin to elevate its cortisol very naturally without kind of firing it up with caffeine. If you can wait that first 90 minutes, that's the most powerful time. That's the time that we are seeing when, if you can pull back on that and introduce the coffee later, a bunch of things are going to start to happen. First, your body is going to start to get back into its natural biorhythms. Second, you will actually be able to maximize your use of caffeine. If you delay it by that 90 minutes to 2 hours, your body's actually going to be able to utilize it better and more effectively. And so we just have to push it back a little bit. It will actually help to improve your natural energy in the morning. So if you've been struggling with that and you're kind of freaking out right now because you think that you can't make it out of bed or out of the house or whatever without your cup of coffee or four, I want you to take a deep breath, because what you're doing is you've really trained your body and you've trained your brain, right, to believe that that coffee is what you need to get going in the morning, when really we need to begin to nurture the body's natural wake up response. And the only way that we can do that is to begin to pull back and delay when we provide that caffeine. Okay, so we're going to try to shift this back to where your body starts to elevate the cortisol in the morning on its own, just the way it's designed to help give you that wake up energy. This will also help improve hormone balance. So many of you are so stressed, and understandably so, about what your hormones are doing, and knowing you just doesn't feel right and things are off kilter, and it's a lot of hormone stuff, movement going on, balancing, rebalancing, imbalancing, all of those things through this perimenopause and menopause state. But if we kind of pull back on that caffeine influx, that will also help your hormones to naturally balance, which is really the goal here. Okay, we have to get you through this perimenopause and menopause state and over to the other side when those hormones are balanced more naturally. Also, by delaying it, I know, and everybody tells me this, they don't believe it initially, but you're actually going to start to sleep better. Because there's a lot of people out there, you may be one of them, who says, oh, this caffeine doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect my sleep. I'm fine. I could drink 16 cups of coffee and still sleep like a log. I disagree. But let's do an experiment. Let's take that coffee. Let's either dial back on it completely, or take it back 90 minutes after you wake up or more, before you have your coffee in the morning. And let's see, after a few days, if your sleep quality starts to improve. Okay. Not necessarily sleep length, right? Length of time, that's up to a whole different kind of rhythm. That's alarm clocks and when you go to bed and when you have to wake up and get ready for your workday and all that kind of thing. But I'm talking about improving your sleep quality. Okay. You will notice a difference if you do this caffeine dial back. And you will also notice, this is another scary part for a lot of people. Again, I fell into this category of needing afternoon energy, right? I was the one too who would run down to the corner and get a cup of coffee right around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's when my energy just tanked. But I'm going to tell you, if you can get your body's biorhythms back in play the way they should, you will also see more stable afternoon energy. It's all highly related to what we're doing to support the body's natural awakening response, and delaying that caffeine jolt by a little bit. So we're not just changing habits here. I'm asking you to make tiny little shifts, but what we're really doing is I want you to think about it as transforming your relationship with your body. Okay. Understanding what you really need to survive and thrive. What does your body need? And these three things that we've talked about so far, that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to put some things into play that will help your body to give it what it needs to be functioning at its best. And we have to pay attention to that. We have to pay attention and to the relationship we have with our body and how we can support it. So stay tuned for more energetic mornings ahead. Delay your caffeine by at least 90 minutes. That's the sweet spot. If you can push it to 2 hours, that's even better. I'm not telling you have to completely bail on your coffee love, but I do want you to push it back just a little bit. So drink your water, okay? Get up and do some jumping jacks or some yoga poses or maybe something else to get you going. But your body will begin to make that shift when it's not being pummeled with that caffeine first thing in the morning. Allow your cortisol awakening response to respond to the no caffeine approach that first thing in the morning. Okay. So brighter, more energetic mornings ahead. That's your tip number 3. Stay tuned for tomorrow, because you guys have all been super receptive about participating in a free learning and support cheerleading kind of community. So I'm going to be rolling out details on that tomorrow. And I'm also going to be doing a 21-day challenge that is also free and part of that community to begin to incorporate some of these shifts, starting with those top 3, into your life to begin to ease this transition and maybe dial down on some of the challenges that you are facing with your weight, with your body composition, with your energy, with your moods, all of the above. Okay, we're gonna wrestle this monster, but we can do it together. So stay tuned for that tomorrow, and I will see you then. Bye.